So here is the detailed tutorial of object-oriented programming. As we have looked between the some differences and explanatory examples, real world examples, between the difference of having the procedural programming languages as a concept and object-oriented programming concept. So in procedure, we also say procedural programming language as a structured programming language. So in procedural or a structured programming language, method define the structure of the program. They are the basic building blocks and data has a secondary role. It's just something that is passed around. So as you take the example of a C programming, it does not have the object oriented concept, means the role of the data is secondary. There is the object oriented programming paradigm is not there. So a structured programming language do not have to do anything with the object and data types. So whatever you declare, or whatever you the method you use, like you there is a concept of switch case statement, nested if else, or decision making statement. Whatever the method you do on the basis of the method that you declare, it provides the result. An object oriented concept is entirely different. So whenever we develop the very complex structure or applications, so there are number of objects. Imagine you are developing a software for the library management system, or hospital management system, or any school management system. So you can see there in hospital or in school, there are a number of objects and classes associated with it. If you focus on the functionality of the school management system, then it comes to the admin, admission, accounts, human resource, or in library management system, book, ups and downs, warehousing, and login user. There are a number of objects and modules are there. So if you do not follow the object oriented approach, then we cannot link the data type. And if we follow the structured programming language, then the number of codes will be too lengthy and it will not give the desired result. So it is preferred to use the object oriented programming concepts. So in object oriented programming concept, it facilitates the data entity or data to be at the prioritized level, and object can be linked through the data that we declare inside it, right? So in object oriented programming, the data has a principal role. Data has the principal role, not the methods. Methods come secondary. The data you use, it's primarily, because object can interact with each other, and method belong to the data. The data you declare, method belong to that. Whatever the data you are declaring, whether it is, suppose you are creating a system for library management system. So you have the several modules there. You creating another module for the warehousing of the book. You are creating another module to purchase a book, and the how many book are there in the stored system. You are creating another module for user login, how many book are issuing, how many book are returning. So different data types needs the different methods to be declared. So the object and data have a primary role in object oriented programming concept. Okay, then does not have any meaning, and without the data the method does not have any meaning except the static methods. If you studied Java, then you will learn about the what are the called static methods, dynamic methods. I give a rough example of it. In static methods, it's a complete user-defined method. Whatever the data you feed it into, you have to declare method according to the data you feed. So in object-oriented programming, data and method together make up the objects. OPS tries to model the real-world entity, as I have told in previous tutorial. So what does the real-world entity look like? These are the real-world entities: book, lion, house, human, chair, computer. Objects have the state, in which state it is lying. As I have told, it consists, it possesses some behavior and properties. Like is, as you can this see the traffic, it has a property that is called the behavior, what is written red in the current scenario, and in the particular situation in what it is showing, whether it is showing green, whether it is showing red, whether it's showing yellow, and you can focus on the pencil that it what state it is. So, state, behavior, and characteristics have the predominant role in object oriented programming. We can say the person, but person in what state? It is hooked. We can say a girl in what state? She's happy. It depicts the characteristics and the behavior. We can say a person, how it is, it's ill. So this sort of things are come under the object oriented programming concepts. So object have the behavior. Like we can see this example. Hello, I'm John. Nice to meet you. This sort of things depicts the behavior of object oriented classes. So world, the world is a set of things interacting with each other. Object is more natural to humans but less natural to computers. That's for what we have the concept of interpreter and translator and assembler in operating system. And the computer usually have a single thread of control, so object take turns. So what does it mean? This line is entirely linked with the operating system concept. Computer usually single flow of thread to execution of its process. If we create any another functionalities which is related to the object, then it creates a separate process thread. If you have the detailed knowledge of operating system, then you can understand it. So describing the world, notice all of the specific values, name, height, eye color. This all depicts the state and the properties of the objects. So what are the advantages of object-oriented programming? It provides a simplicity. Software objects model real-world objects, so the complexity is reduced. Why complexity is reduced? If our entire focus in on the method, but not we are not focusing on the data type, then obviously it is going to be more complex. But the entire focus on the objects, so the complexity is reduced, and the program structure is very clear. Whatever the code you write, it's very clear, it can be easily understandable. And modularity means the entire modules is independent of each other. It provides a module which is independent of each other. Each objects form a separate entity whose internal working are decoupled from the other parts of the system. As I have told, independent of each other. Whatever the modules you have created, suppose in the library management system, the two modules you have created, the use cases like login and warehousing. So these are the two modules, separate classes and separate objects. But in programming language or in the system, there is nothing to do with their dependencies. The warehousing book warehousing concept is different, and the login user entity is different in the library management system program. What is the modifiability? It's easy to make minor changes in the data representation and the process in the object oriented programming. Object oriented programming are modifiable and reusable at some times. We can have the minor changes in the data representation, means you are declaring a data and you are creating its size, as we can say the character, let's say any character, a character, but according to the need of that module you need to modify it and you changes it to D. So there has nothing to be going to hamper your programming. So next it comes to extensibility. Extensibility means adding objects model real world objects, so the complexity is reduced. Extensibility means adding new features or responding to the changing operating environment can solve by introducing few new objects and modifying some existing ones. Suppose you have declared some object, but according to the business scenario or current programming scenario, you need to modify it. So you can do that. It does not hamper your programming from any view. And also the object oriented provides the maintainability of the program. Means object can be maintained separately, making locating and fixing the problem easier. And we can reuse the objects in different program as well. So now it comes to the future of object-oriented programming, which is class, data abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, and information hiding. So what are the class and object? I have also discussed in the previous tutorial. Class is the basic building blocks of object-oriented programming. Once a class has been defined, we can create any number of objects belonging to that class. If you have declared a class called name student, and if you have to take any data type of the any student, you have to create the objects. Let's say you have declared the class student, and you have to make 5 student data type in which you have to show their roll number, their entry date, their enrollment date, and their withdrawal date. So in that particular class declared, you can add a number of defined objects into it. Okay. Now it comes to object. Objects are the instances or the variables of the data type class. Object has a real existence and taken up space in the memory. Whatever the objects you do declare, it possesses some array. You have studied array in C. So array is nothing but the it's array is a representation of the memory location, that what the objects or the variables that we are declaring, it consists some bucket into the memory section. Means in any part of the memory it is get stored. Like, so what are the objects or the variables you do declare? Objects take up in space in the memory. When a program is executed, the object interact by sending messages to one another. Suppose you have created two objects classes, and it is stored in the memory, and you are using the inheritance and a message passing algorithm. So one object is sending message to one another. Means in a programming domain, I explain it. Means in a C++ program, you have created an object called student roll number, and you are linking that particular roll number with the another class also. So this is the very good example of message passing. Now it comes to the object properties. What are the properties of the object? As I have told, it has some behavior, identity, and state. Object is an abstraction of the real world entity. As you can see this lamp, so what state in it is? It is whether it is off or whether it is on. So the introduction of the objects. Objects represent something with which we can interact in a program. Obviously, an object provides a collection of services that we can tell it to perform for us. The services we can define object. It means that we can define the objects. The services are defined by the methods in the class that defines the objects. A class represents a concept, and an object represents the embodiment of that class. Means you are declaring a class, it has some concept, it's had some entity as well, some identity as well. But objects that you do declare, it had some relativeness to that particular class. You cannot declare any object beyond of that class nature. If you have taken the class student, then you will declare the object related to it. You cannot declare umbrella or mango in that student class. A class can be used to create multiple objects. As I have told, you can have the number of objects in a particular class. So we can see the example, a very good example of objects and classes given. A class, the concept, the bank account is a class. We have taken the bank account as class, and we are linking the multiple objects of the same class. John's bank accounts, Bill's bank accounts, and Mary's bank accounts. So an object, the realization of the real-time entity. What is abstraction? As I have told, a very good example is also given here. Hiding the complexity of a program is the abstraction, and only the essential features is represented. In short, we can say the internal working is hidden. Suppose we as a end user, we use the ATM machine. So ATM machine के अंदर कोई इंसान तो बैठा हुआ नहीं है वो using the ATM machine. There are some algorithm use cases. There are some working model has been made, working architecture. There are some programming done as well on which method it is working. So a end user comes to the ATM, he does not have to do anything, that what are the software architecture of that ATM machine, or what kind of programming language we have used it, what kind of software development methodology. He has to do only thing, he will come, he'll insert his card, he'll put up his number and take the money and go.
He has to do only with that thing. He has not to do is it's with its internal architecture. Means you travels through the train, but you don't have to do anything in what way they have made the engine or in what way they have made the entire wagons of the train. In the same approach, if the example is given here, a car consists of four wheels, engine and accumulator brings. But कार उतने से तो नहीं बनता है. It has a very typical mechanism and mechanical procedure. सो वॉट वी हैव टू डू. हम लोग तो कार में बैठने से मतलब है, वो कैसे बनाया है, कौन बनाया है, क्या मेथड इम्प्लीमेंट किया है वो जाने. बट वी आर एज ए आई टी प्रोफेशनल्स, वी डू हैव टू डू वी शुड हैव द नॉलेज ऑफ द इंटरनल आर्किटेक्चर ऑफ द ATM machines as well, because we are the IT professionals and we will not know that how the ATM is working, then who else will know. Our professionalism is that our specialized area is that, so we have to know this. Now it comes to the encapsulation. It means combining the data and function into the single unit called the class, and the process is known as encapsulation. You are encapsulating the two different functions in a variable in a amalgamated form, in a single unit. Think of a capsule. You have seen capsule. When you will break the capsule from its in between part, you will find there are some medicines of different colors are into it. That is the best example of encapsulation. So from that capsule word, it is comes to the encapsulation. Data encapsulation is important to the feature of the class. A class contains both data and functions, and data is not accessible from the outside world, and only those functions which are present in the class can be access the data. Now when it comes to the dynamic binding. What is dynamic binding? It is refers to the linking the function call with the function definitions is called binding. Function call means whatever the function you are declaring inside your program, and in what way you are declaring it inside the program, and in what way you are keeping it into the data modifiable format, right? And when it takes place at the runtime called the dynamic binding. What are the message passing? The process by which one object interact with the other object is called the message passing. So now it comes to inheritance. What is inheritance? It is a process of when an object of one class acquire the properties of the another class. The concept of inheritance provide the idea of reusability, means we can add additional features to the existing class. Suppose you have made one class and you have declared some object into it, and you have to inherit that particular class with the another class as well to share the properties and state of that particular class. So this concept is come under inheritance. There are several types of inheritance like hybrid inheritance, single inheritance, multiple inheritance, hierarchical inheritance. When you will study the Java, C++ in detail, you will study this kind of types of inheritance and types of programming that we do encounter in the different inheritance platforms. So this is possible by driving a new class from the existing one. We can create a new class from the existing one. One class is made as student, और वन क्लास इज लेट्स से स्कूल इज मेड. सो स्कूल के क्लास से हम लोग डिफरेंट क्लास बना सकते हैं. वी कैन हैव अ टीचर क्लास, वी कैन हैव अ स्टूडेंट क्लास, वी कैन हैव अ एडमिन क्लास, वी कैन हैव अ classroom class, we can have the account class. A number of class can be made through a student class if you are developing any system for the school management system. So this is a very good example of inheritance is shown here. It's a vehicle. And what type of vehicle? It's a street vehicle and car vehicle. This you can see that a class is described here called vehicle, and from that particular class how many different subclasses are made. Street vehicle do two types of first we take the single class, then we inherit it to the multiple inheritance like street vehicle and aircraft. Then it comes to helicopter and plane, and from that street vehicle it's called a motorcycle and car. So this kind of inheritance is the example of hybrid inheritance, in which you can inherit the number of class and there are the number of classes linked to the single class. So what called polymorphism? The term polymorphism literally means having many forms. a class can have the multiple forms, having many forms. How many forms a particular class can take? So this has to be decided by the polymorphism mechanism. A polymorphic reference is a variable that can refer to the different type of object at a different point of time. अब polymorphism का कहने का मतलब यहाँ पर ये है कि that can refer to the different type of objects. What different type of objects that we are declaring in that particular class? The method invoked through a polymorphic reference can change from one invocation to the next invocation. And all object references are in Java are potentially polymorphic. We use the maximum concept of polymorphism in Java programming. So here we can see that how a particular class can taking the polymorphic reference, like a shadow draw. What kind of shape we have, like there is a shape, but it taking the different form. It taking the triangle, rectangle and circle. So this is an example of polymorphism. Here also we have the two type of polymorphism: compile time polymorphism and runtime polymorphism. Compile time polymorphism means the function overloading and operator overloading. Means we can declare single functions into a method, but we have to link these several polymorphic reference. So we use for that we implement the function overloading concept. Means in a single program we are using 2 to 3 functions. Or operator overloading means in a single program you are using multiple operators. You are also using the assignment operators, you are also using the bitwise operator, you are also using or what kind of operator there is available, like and operator. It's a best suitable example, like you are using and bitwise and assignment all together. And we have the runtime polymorphism. That runtime polymorphism means at the time of the execution of the program we are using the virtual functions to link to the another objects. So this is all about the object oriented programming. In next tutorial we will see the introduction to the Visual Basics .NET programming.